Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to demonstrate how to use the price and yield functions in Excel to determine the price and yield to maturity for corporate bonds. And we're going to be looking at the example of a Kinder Morgan bond that was issued back in 2014 and is going to mature in about 10 years. So I'm going to pull that bond up here, and I'm using the Fidelity website for this purpose. Nothing special about the Fidelity website. They just have a lot of good information on bonds here. So we're looking at this bond. It matures. You pull that up here. Maturity date of 12/1/2034. I'm recording this on June 17th, 2024. So it's about 10 and a half years out till its maturity date. It was issued on October 24th, 2014. So it's about a 20-year bond. The original issue amount was $750 million, and we're going to talk a little bit about the, what you get whenever the bond matures here in a minute. The bond pays a semi-annual coupon payment. The coupon rate is 5.3%. It's a triple B S&P rating, a Baa2 Moody's rating. The coupon is fixed, and that's true for most corporate bonds in the U.S. An important thing to note is the day count basis is 3036. What this means is that the interest accrues on the bond assuming a 30-day month and 360 days a year. So this is pretty typical for corporate bonds, is that the interest accrual on them assumes a 30-day month and 360 days a year. In other words, 12 30-day months. This is important when we're looking at actual bonds. The XIRR and XNPV functions don't work for actual bonds because of this, and that's why we use the price and the yield functions in Excel instead of those. And we're going to see this in our calculations here in a minute. So let's go ahead and put some of this information in to our spreadsheet here. So the settlement date is the date that the trade actually settles. So if I went out to my broker and I bought this bond today, the trade wouldn't actually settle until 2 days later. So today is for me it's Monday, June 17th. If I went out today and hit buy, the trade wouldn't actually settle until Wednesday, June 19th, or 2 days later. And that's for a corporate bond in the US. If this were a treasury bond, it's actually 1 day to the settlement usually for those. But for stocks and bonds in the US, there's two days for the settlement. So I'm going to actually add 2 days to the date here. So my settlement date would be 6/19/2024, 2 days from today for me. The maturity date is given. So the maturity date is December 1st, 2034. So that's 12/1/2034. The coupon rate, I showed you that already. The coupon rate here is 5.3%. The yield to maturity, so we're going to calculate both the yield to maturity and the price. We're going to start with the yield to maturity that's given here. So the yield to maturity, if I go to price and performance here, it says, and this is important, it gives you two values here, and notice it says ask. So there's an ask price and there's a bid price, and you can see it up here. The bid price is $97,732. The ask price is $97,868. The ask price is the price that the bond dealer is willing to sell the bond for. So that's the price I'm going to pay for this bond today, okay? Not including any accrued interest. So the ask yield to worst and the ask yield to maturity is based on the price I'm going to pay for that bond today. So you'll notice here that they're both the same. What this means is that there's not a call provision there that's causing the yield to call to be worse, to be less than the yield to maturity, or there can be other features with that bond that might affect that, but they're the same here. So that's nice for us here. So we're going to go ahead and put that in there. 5.571%. The redemption value. The redemption value was what I was talking about before. Let me show you here. the original issue amount. So when you go to redeem the bond at the end of the life of the bond on the maturity date, you're going to get the face value or the principal value. And the pricing of the bonds, you'll notice here, it's priced at 97.868, assumes a redemption value of $100 for that maturity value, what you get at maturity. So the redemption value that we're going to put in here is 100 because we're basing it on the quoted price. We're trying to get to that quoted price. The frequency, this is a semi-annual bond, as are most coupon corporate bonds in the US, so there's 2 payments per year. The basis is what I was talking about before, and we're going to see whenever we use the functions, it's going to pull these up, but we're going to put a 0 in here. So that basis assumes that there's a, the interest is based on a 30-day month and 360 days a year. What that means is in February, if there's only 28 days, it's not a if it's not a leap year, and there's only 28 days, you actually get accrued interest for 30 days instead of 28. If it's December and there's 31 days, you only get accrued interest for 30 days instead of 31 days. So it can be good and bad depending on your situation there, but it doesn't have a big impact. So here I'm going to use the price function, and it says equals price, open parentheses. The settlement date, again, that's the date that the trade would close on. It's going to be 2 days from the date that you make the trade usually. The maturity date, this bond matures on 12/1/2034. The rate is the coupon rate, 5.3%. And don't worry about adjusting it for 2 payments per year. The function actually does that for you. The yield to maturity, that YLD is the yield to maturity. The redemption is $100. The frequency is 2. And then the basis, and for this one, and I apologize, the type is really small here, but it says 0 is US, National Association Security Dealers, and that's what NASD is, 3360. And that's the typical one for corporate bonds in the United States. One would be actual, the actual days in the month, the actual days in the year, and so on. So we can just highlight the basis here of 0, and then we can close our parentheses out, and we get a price of $97.87. Now let's compare that to what is out here on Fidelity, and it is the same. So 97.868 or 97.87 there. Finally, we're going to use the yield function, equals yield. Settlement, again, settlement date is the date that the trade would settle. The maturity date is 12/1/2034. The rate, again, is the coupon rate. PR is the price. That's the price of the bond today. Well, we just calculated that. It's 97.87. Redemption is $100. The frequency is 2. And then finally, the basis, again, is that 360. Close our parentheses out, and we get the same answer here. The yield to maturity, 5.57%. Yield to maturity of 5.57%. So hopefully this is helpful for you if you're learning how to use the price and yield functions in Excel for the basis of valuing or determining the required rate of return on a bond. Please let me know if you have any questions.